Hey, welcome everybody. All right, someone asked me about the recorded videos. Well, I mentioned it to them that they're what they say is a library of videos. These are free to see, so you don't have to be a member or anything like that. You see the link, connect with them through the tour link. They'll send you a link, and you'll be able to see these. This is the reason that the company's growing so fast. Products are good. The information is more valuable, a lot more valuable. So every day they have this. So they have corporate. Monday is that would be today. Monday is the products. Tuesday content creators. Wednesday is marketing. Thursday is corporate. This is what's coming up. Friday is another corporate. This is what's coming up. This is what we're doing. This is how it's going. This is how members are growing. And that's wait. Someone asked me about immunity. So let's see what we get.
I think confused and overwhelmed when there is this sort of like chronic low-grade inflammatory response. It's just chronic, and that can be due to a lot of things related to lifestyle, but probably number one of them being just a overweight body would start that cascade.
Sure.
So someone that's sedentary, that's grossly overweight, is going to start that process and accelerate that process a lot faster than someone that say is focused on a kind of an ideal body weight.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we'll talk about obviously the supplements that we recommend that really address the inflammation to the immunity link,
Right.
as well as lifestyle factors. We're always going to put those in there because you have to understand it's more than just one thing, right? You can't just do one little part. You got to do all the work. Really important. So if you think about inflammation, I feel like you say this often. Like inflammation in itself is not bad, right? There's good inflammation.
It's good and bad, yeah.
Example of the good inflammation, I feel like you always use about the cut. Like if you cut.
Yeah, cuts and scrapes, of course. That's a pretty obvious one. The flu is another one. I mean, there's plenty of examples of when the immune system is super dormant, basically, and just waiting, and then there's an offense or an insult, and the body goes, but bam, here, this is how we fix this problem.
Right.
Fixes the problem.
Yes. Yeah, that's the acute inflammation. It's
Sure.
protection, it's healing.
That's right.
It's
That's right.
supposed to be there. What we're talking about with inflammation is the chronic inflammation, is which can 100% equals immune dysfunction. That's the pathway. So when inflammation never turns, chronic, it never turns off, constantly inflamed, and there's many times that you don't necessarily feel this chronic inflammation. Yes, you can. You can experience it in joint pain, inflammation. There's certain things, but you don't always get these like bold red flags or like this is inflammation going on. So it can be silent,
Sure.
which is you have to be doing this stuff to make sure you're keeping that inflammation internally down. There are inflammatory markers you can get on blood tests and stuff like that, which we are very big advocates about knowing your numbers, knowing what's going on, because you might look the part on the outside, but you really don't know what's going on the inside. So it's really important to know your numbers.
Yeah, there's a number of markers that people should be able to get tested. They've heard of cortisol. There's cortisol, there's C-reactive protein, there's the interleukins, there's, even looking at insulin levels, your A1C, so your average blood glucose. If you're pre-diabetic, diabetic, of course you already know that your body is in an elevated immune response.
Yeah.
Which leads to a lot of autoimmune disorders too, believe it or not. A lot of I don't know if you're going to talk about that today or not.
No, but I'm glad you did,
Yeah,
because
it gets there, right? It gets down to the psoriasis and the eczema. It gets down to some of the rheumatoid arthritis. It gets down to it's a little harder in the type 1 diabetes, because sometimes that has a more unknown etiology, right? Like a kid, right? It's not overweight or whatever, and how does that happen? But
yeah, no, it's very common. I actually get the emails asking about like what to do for like eczema and psoriasis, because so many people go straight to like, what can I put on topically? And I'm not saying topical stuff is not helpful, but what is the root cause of that? It's inflammation, right? So yes, the inflammation drives this autoimmunity because it really affects your immune system. So when inflammation never turns off, that's the chronic inflammation we're talking about. Your immune system signaling becomes confused. Your immune cells become exhausted, right? So they're definitely not going to be helping you. The body stays in a constant like threat state, and illness becomes easier, and recovery becomes much harder.
It's easier, yeah.
Right? So you strong immune system on a chronically inflamed body. I want you to understand that. So again, we're just highlighting the link between this chronic inflammation and weakened immunity. Are you trying to scoot over?
No, you're good.
Okay, so what this means, inflammation must be addressed first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like step one. And I don't like saying steps because I don't want you to always think about we need to do this and then we need to do that. But you have to address this chronic inflammation. It's typically, like we talked about, root cause between autoimmunity, yes, frequent infections, hormonal imbalances, brain fog, chronic fatigue, gut dysfunction, joint and muscle pain. That's a common one that inflammation shows up at. You feel it in your joints, but you don't always feel the other stuff. You don't always, maybe you feel tired, but you don't realize you have chronic fatigue. Maybe you don't even notice that you have the brain fog. You just kind of chalk it up to like, this is what's happening. But all that points to signs of chronic inflammation. So your immune system in these states becomes overreactive, overreactive, but ineffective, right? So like it's just not going to do anything. Think of it like this. I have this analogy. The autoimmune system stuck in inflammation is like a fire alarm that never shuts off, right? That's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if there was a fire alarm never shutting off. I mean, that's what's going on inside. So you need to make sure you're taking care of yourself. So pulling in some supplements that we did that help. Our foundational 5-pack. I mean, it's a wonderful pack, and this is like your base layer. You have to be focusing on this. And in your foundational 5-pack, we have our multivitamin men's or women's. We have our vitamin D3, K2, ultra magnesium complex, factor 4, and our probiotic gut support. These are extremely important. Think of this as your base layer. Got to be doing this. Your multivitamin supplies those essential immune cofactors, supports antioxidant defense. Basically your immune system can't function without the raw materials. Got to give it the raw materials. We know our vitamin D acts as a master immune regulator. There's so much information out there about vitamin D and making sure you're at an adequate level or optimized.
Yeah, you saw that during COVID too, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, that is like the biggest thing that pointed
It was
towards.
kept coming out, story after story after story. The people were being admitted to the hospital. The poor outcomes were associated with low vitamin D levels.
Yeah.
It was just like this super strong correlation.
Yep. And it's not that vitamin D doesn't just boost immunity; it teaches the immune system how to respond. The way it should.
It's crazy that people think, it's just vitamin D. No, it's not just vitamin D. Vitamin D, it's made as a vitamin, and then immediately gets converted by the kidney into a hormone.
Right.
So then, you talk about hormone balancing and how hormones interact. There's a very complicated interaction of hormones throughout the body. So it's not just one thing. It's like vitamin D is not just singly just going for bone density, which most people originally started D as.
Yes.
It's many of other things that it plays a role in.
Yep, 100%. Ultra magnesium complex.
Of course.
I mean,
huge player in immune health.
Right?
Huge.
Calms the nervous system, reduces inflammatory signaling, supports immune communication and recovery. But we also know that magnesium is involved in, they're saying around 600 chemical reactions in the body. But big deal, guys. You need this. You need it. A stressed nervous system creates a weakened immune system, right? Got to take care of yourself. Factor 4, you got our megas, curcumin, CoQ10, garlic, directly lowers systemic inflammation. And we always recommend, if you have chronic inflammation going on, increasing your dose, right? So we'll say on the bottle 2 per day. We personally each take 4 per day, but you can take up to 8 per day if you've got this chronic inflammation.
Well, no, hold on. It goes the other way. Now, so if you go higher, it lowers triglycerides and raises HDL. They say that at least 1 gram of omega-3 fatty acids a day is your sort of the inflammatory
Gotcha.
coverage.
Okay.
And that's a big thing because that's the FDA's sort of stamp of approval on that. That's their qualified health claim that you're allowed to make on that. And that's how the drugs are used, like Lovazin and Vascepa. I think it's Vascepa. There's like 2 prescription drugs that are omega-3 fatty acids, and that's exactly
in that dose to claim it.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you have to take your omegas. If you're not addressing inflammation, you are not truly supporting immunity. Got to remember this. Probiotic gut support. Why? 70% of your immune system lives in your gut. That's a big deal. So I feel like I don't even need to go into any more details. And just knowing that, you have to have a diverse, healthy gut microbiome, right? Supports immune tolerance, inflammatory control. I mean, very, very important. And I always say this.
Integrity.
Yes, and I always say this with probiotics. I feel like so many people think that if they don't feel things going on in their stomach, maybe they don't feel bloating or diarrhea or
Right,
constipation, they think that their gut is fine.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily. Like if you really want to know, do the gut test, do a stool sample, and see what kind of microbes are in there, what the imbalances are. But I promise you, you're going to have some dysbiosis going on. So we really need to make sure we are taking care of our guts.